of our armed forces, retired one, I get it. A man who spent decades serving the Nigerian state and helping to defend this country. Then he died in captivity. That's painful enough. But what happened next is what should make every Nigerian hang his head in shame, including me. Ojuntimi, according to reports, heavily armed bandits came out of the forest, handed over our general's body, and then returned to the neighboring forest as if they own our country. The same people who kidnapped him had enough confidence to come out, deliver his cause neatly wrapped, hand it over, and leave. Nobody chased them. Nobody intercepted them. Nobody surrounded them. Nobody hunted them. They simply came and went. And our stupid government is issuing press releases. What a country. What an unbelievable humiliation. Internationally. The video is everywhere. The picture is everywhere. If this story had appeared in a movie script, many people would have dismissed it as unrealistic. Yet here we are. And instead of government officials expressing outrage and announcing a massive operation to hunt down those responsible, at least you know the forest they entered, we are hearing explanations that the general died of hypertension and diabetes. How would you tell me? Honestly, what kind of response is that? A man is kidnapped and died while in custody of armed criminals, and the government's concern is to explain to us that he died of natural causes. They are telling us their own general died of diabetes and hypertension while under capture by bandits. Rari, natural causes, was being kidnapped even natural, was being held hostage natural, was being deprived of freedom natural, was the trauma of captivity natural, was the fear, the uncertainty, the stress of living at the mercy of armed criminals. Is that one natural? Even if you had underlying conditions, how does that reduce the responsibility of those who captured him or those who kidnapped him? A man who is alive before being kidnapped and dead during captivity did not die in a vacuum. How can our government try to be telling us now that the kidnappers are now suddenly innocent because the victim had hypertension? And frankly, the eagerness with which some officials are trying to explain away the circumstances of his death is maddening. How do they even know what killed him? Autopsy. Did they do an autopsy? Was there a medical examination? Or are we now accepting the testimony of kidnappers as medical evidence? Perhaps what even annoys me more is the endless blame game that this government keeps doing. Every time the security gets worse, some stupid government officials will immediately start pointing fingers at the opposition. The opposition did this. Opposition low and there. Opposition sponsored that. The opposition wants to destabilize the country to make the country ungovernable. The opposition is behind the kidnapping. You all need to keep quiet. From Bayo and Onuga and the prosecutions. You cannot keep accusing unnamed opposition figures of sponsoring insecurity in your country while failing to arrest or successfully prosecute even one major political actor connected to these crimes. At some point, citizens are entitled to ask whether this is a serious security assessment or simply political excuse-making. It is excuse-making. Emitti decide. The last time I checked, opposition politicians do not command the army. They do not command the Air Force. They do not command the police. They do not control intelligence services. They do not control security budgets. The government does. That is why governments are elected to solve problems. You should know that we will come to solve the problems. It's not the Walokon to come and be explaining problems. not to outsource blame for the problems of our nation, to solve it. It is not to spend years pointing fingers while citizens continue to die. What this makes all this even more frustrating for me is that many of the same political forces currently asking Nigerians for patience were among those who relentlessly attacked Jonathan Goodluck over insecurity. I was there, so I know. If this was under Jonathan or even Buhari, we would all be on the streets demanding action from Lagos. I still remember all that protest gathering in Ketu now, in Ikoyi, and all those my Yoruba brothers, including sons and billionaires and Yoruba pastors who are floating at the mouth over subsidy and other crimes under Jonathan. Where are you all now? Ibolewa, ẹ̀yin Yoruba mi, láti Èkó, láti Ìjẹ̀bú, láti Ogun State, láti Ọ̀yọ́ State. Where are you now? Because your own brother is there. God bless Pastor Bakari. At least Pastor Bakari is vexing loudly now, despite being a Tinubu man. Much respect to him. Because you cannot say because it's your brother, you are not going to say the truth. But where are the others? Government had no excuse. Jonathan had no excuse. The government had no excuse. He cared enough about everyone and not just his Redeemed Church. I'm a Redeemed Church member. So, but I will still say to my daddy, it's my daddy too. Back then, Nigerians were told that government had no excuse. Protest. Government had no excuse. Jonathan had no excuse. He must go. Jonathan must go because he cannot deal with simple terrorism. 10 times what happened that Jonathan is happening now. Aida, where are you people? Back then we were told that leadership means taking responsibility. Nobody excused Jonathan. There was opposition that was doing it. Back then, we were told that insecurity was proof of Jonathan's incompetence. But now they don't want to say it's incompetence. They want to say it's opposition. Back then, nobody want to hear explanations about conspiracies, sabotage, or political opponents. We didn't want to hear it from Jonathan's mouth. Our argument then was simple. You are in government, Mr. Jonathan, so you must fix it. That was the standard. That was the message. All over the nation, spearheaded by those of us in Lagos, those of us in the Southwest. That was the basis upon which Nigerians were persuaded to reject the Jonathan government of the day. I'm not a politician. I've never joined any political party, but I was very much on board with that. I campaigned against Jonathan because of that reason. And I didn't care. I was like, he was the president. So why should the standard be different now? Why are we not saying, Tinubu, you are responsible? Why are we not saying that? Why should the standard suddenly change now because we have an Emilio person in government? If insecurity was unacceptable at that time, then it is unacceptable now. If the government was responsible then government is responsible now. If the excuses were rejected at that time, then we must reject the excuses now. The rules cannot change depending on who occupies Aso Rock. That's where I stand. I'm not on any party side.